Hi, welcome to StatStuff. I'm Matt Hansen. In this lesson, we'll review the DMAIC roadmap again and dig a little deeper into the third layer of the improve phase of DMAIC. Just as with the prior three phases of define, measure, and analyze, this third layer will serve as a roadmap to help navigate you through the different tools and resources necessary when working in the improve phase of a DMAIC project. So let's begin by looking again at the 5 basic steps for resolving a problem.
Previously, we introduced the 5 basic steps for resolving a problem, and then we applied those 5 basic steps to the DMAIC methodology, the 5 phases of the Six Sigma DMAIC methodology. And last time in the lesson, we had also talked about the high-level questions we would ask for each of those phases in the DMAIC methodology. We also took that a step further. That's what we call level 1. That is, at the top level, we have each of these different questions that we're asking for each of the phases within the DMAIC methodology. So we dug last time into taking those questions to another layer, a second layer, going a little deeply like this, where for each phase, again, we've got the define phase where we have the top level question that we're asking ourselves, and again, we said if you cannot answer yes to that question, then you ask yourself the second layer of questions that are in here. And here's a guide for the different tools or resources that can help you in helping to answer those questions, and that can ultimately help you in answering this top level question. And what we said is that the goal is to try to answer each of these top level questions for each phase, and then as you do answer yes to those questions, then you move on to the next phase, and then to the sub questions within those phases, and so on, all the way through the control phase. That's the introduction again to what we did last time when we talked about the level 1 and level 2 questions for the DMAIC roadmap.
Okay, now let's dig a little deeper by looking into the third layer of the improve phase of DMAIC.
All right, we're going to go beyond the first and second level here of the DMAIC roadmap and go down to a third level within each of these phases, now within the improve phase. So again, this is the third level of questions we would ask ourselves to get more specific to what tool or resource we might refer to help us in navigating the project, at least through this portion of the improve phase. So here's the section for the improve phase. The top level question, like we've had before, is going to be the same, where we're going to ask ourselves, do you know what improvements will fix the root causes, or those inputs or X's, and by how much? If we cannot answer yes to that question, that's where we find ourselves drilling down to this second layer of questions like we've already reviewed. So within here, the second layer, we're going to first ask ourselves, do you know which potential X's are independent and statistically significant? If you can't answer yes to that, then you're going to move on to this third layer of questions now to help answer that question. First one here is, have you compiled all of your hypothesis testing results for the statistically significant X's? Next, you would ask yourself, do you know what the interrelationship or multicollinearity is between the significant X's? That is, looking for the interdependency you might have between the X's. And next, ask yourself, have you built a transfer function, if that's even possible to build one? And does the team agree with the analysis results that you have up to this point? If you can answer yes to all of these, then you should be able to satisfy this second layer of question. Then you move on to the next one. Do you know what improvements can be made to fix the root causes, or those inputs or X's? Well, if you're not really sure, then you might need to ask yourself several more questions here at the third layer. That is, did you brainstorm potential improvements with your team? And did you assess the impact benefit or the difficulty or complexity for each of the potential improvements? That's where you might need the impact matrix or a pick chart to help you in plotting that out. Next, ask yourself, did you assess the potential risks for the key improvements? Well, if not, that's where you might want to use some risk assessment like an FMEA chart in order to help figure that part out. And again, once you can answer yes to these, you should be able to satisfy this question at this second level, and you can move on to this last one here at the second level, which is, did you pilot the improvements and get successful results? Well, in order to answer that one, then you can ask yourself these questions, such as, did you build a pilot plan for the key improvements? And next, did you define a time and location and scope for that pilot? And next, did you build a scorecard for the pilot? And do you know if your scorecard data is accurate and the method for collecting it, if it's manual, was repeatable and reproducible? Remember, we did the MSA, or that measurement system analysis, earlier on in the measurement phase when we were trying to grab our data and acquire the data and make sure that we could trust the data. But at this point, you're going to do some more data collection when you're going to be running a pilot like this. So you want to make sure that the method you're using for collecting the data, if it's manual, that you can trust it and that's repeatable and reproducible in the collection process. And last, you want to ask yourself, did you get agreement from your team where the improvements are going to be piloted? So finally, when you answer yes to these questions, you should be able to satisfy this second level question, and then again answering that one successfully should help you to ultimately answer this top level question, which is now you should know what the improvements are that you're going to fix the root causes and by how much they will fix them. So the typical outputs we would see from this improve phase is going to be the updated project storyboard, the list of the improvements, as well as any data or charts such as a scorecard that's going to help validate the success of the pilot. Once you're able to accomplish all this in the improve phase, then you're ready to move on to the next phase, which is the control phase.
All right, before we close this lesson, let's discuss how we can apply some of these concepts in a practical way.
I'd like you to identify at least 2 other projects that you've led or maybe worked on in the past. And for each of those, review all the questions that were identified in the improve phase at the level 3 of the roadmap we just reviewed. And what questions or related tools or resources that are listed there were not addressed during each of those projects? And why were those not addressed in the projects? And what different outcome or results could have been realized if you had addressed those issues and questions within the project?
Well, that wraps up this lesson. Check out StatStuff.com for many more resources that can help you achieve powerful results. I'm Matt Hanson. Thanks for watching.